Welcome once again to our Willows Beyond the Gym, to our latest episode. My name's Troy Morgan. I'm lucky enough to be joined today by Lachie Stuart, a good mate of mine, but also just an amazing person. Lachie, thanks so much for coming in, mate. Really appreciate it. Know how busy you are.
No, Troy, thanks for having me on. This is like, if you asked me 10 years ago if this would have happened, it would have been a definitely no. I wouldn't have known what a podcast is, but wouldn't have been invited on a podcast at all.
What a journey. Well, what Lachie's referring to there, he wasn't actually a personal trainer here a long time ago. So we do go back a long way, and I'm really looking forward to this chat. Mate, Willows Beyond the Gym is all about everyday stories, interesting stories, but also what we're looking to do out of those everyday stories is inspire people, educate and motivate them. And I love your story, and I'm sure we're going to be able to do all those three things today. And I don't think this is just going to be a one-off. I think we'll probably need 3 or 4 episodes to get through
Perfect.
your stuff. Let's start at the beginning, mate. Your journey, you're a Toowoomba boy. Let's start there.
Yeah, I am a proud Toowoomba boy, and you were, to give credit from you were my first official mentor when I rolled in the door here, 18 years young. I'd just done my personal training course. And I rolled in a suit, and I still remember meeting Craig, and I'd always heard about Troy Morgan. Troy's where Willows is where you want to be. And I walked in and I learned pretty quickly you don't need to wear a suit into a gym. So that was a great...
good first impression.
Great memory. But prior to that, I'd always wanted to be a professional athlete. I was a great runner, but going to Toowoomba Grammar, rugby sort of took focus, and that for me was what I believed would give me the keys to success and create a good life, because I knew that there was a talent pathway there. And unfortunately, through lack of talent, but not lack of trying, that never worked out for me. But I was fortunate through your guidance as well. I was going to ask whether you remembered this, but I was fortunate to go play in France, and we set up a web page called Lachie's Gap Year.
We did.
And that was sort of, I guess, my first venture into entrepreneurship at that point. But coming back, that didn't work out very well for me. And when I came back, I realized that I'd attached so much of my identity to being successful, and so much of that went into competition. And when I realized that competing at the highest level, running for state and, at national titles, you get to compete at the highest level. So you can sort of go, okay, I'm sort of sitting second or third. That validates me, that pats me on the back. And when that was gone, I fell into a bit of a mess. And I was trying to find myself for a number of years through various other avenues, and unfortunately that wasn't working out. So I was trying to numb that through partying and through plenty of things I shouldn't have been doing. And unfortunately, you would have seen me, I'm sure everyone here who's watching this has seen me at some point, and doing things that I wasn't proud of. But fortunately for me, I had a rock bottom moment where I'm sitting in a position I didn't want to be sitting in. And I had a moment to look at myself, because people were looking at me. It's almost like they're shining this mirror in your face. And I'm thinking, people are looking at me for the wrong reason. And I went to an incredible school, Toowoomba Grammar, had an incredible family and a lot of opportunity. Yet here I am carrying on like a drongo for whatever reason. And I'm not making the most of the opportunity that I have been given. In that moment, I decided that I wanted to make something of myself. I didn't know what that meant, but I just wanted to be successful.
Yeah.
I wanted people to go, "You're doing well, Lachie." That's what I wanted. And it felt like a series of events. A guy, Tommy Crockett, who's also a Toowoomba local, I was playing at Rangers with, invited me to a personal development event. Went to that personal development event, and we walked in, both Tommy and I, because we'd never done anything like that. And these guys are jumping on tables, hugging, high-fiving, and we're both just like pretty much holding hands, being like, if they touch me or if they hug me, get out of here. But we sat there, and when you're at a personal development event, the energy's high, and you're hearing stories of transformation, of how people went from where they weren't happy to where they were. And there was one story in particular that I really resonated with, because coming back, I was working here and I was working with Dad as a chippy, because I didn't really know what I wanted, right? I loved fitness, but I still felt like there was something more for me, and I wasn't quite sure what that was. And I walked away from that talk watching Ben share how we went from a bricklayer to then, being a keynote speaker. And Mum was with me as well. And I just said to Mum, like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have a story to share. I don't know how that's possible, but that's what I want. And I came back to Toowoomba, moved into selling supplements, which then led to running events, which then led to documenting my journey, because I wasn't someone I was proud of, But social media had just kicked off, and I was like sharing, hey, this is what I'm excited about. This is what I'm doing. This is me going to this event, and this is what I'm learning. And slowly people started messaging me, being like, oh, Lachie, what you shared is something that I'm experiencing. You know, I have a problem with alcohol, or I'm, you know, saying things to my partner that I regret, or I'm just not happy. And I found myself in Austria one day where a message came through, and once again, I was still bouncing between jobs, Uber driving, PTing, just still looking for my thing. And that message came through, and I had this moment where I'm like, I wonder if I could get paid to do what I'm already doing. Like, I'm wanting to be better. I'm still figuring it out. But if I could get paid to help people do what I'm doing. And that's when it all, I guess I found my purpose, so to speak. And I came back to Australia, and I sat down with Amy. I'm like, I'm going to start a business. And what's it going to be? And we spat around names, and it was The Man That Can, because I wanted to prove to any man, especially, and people in general, that they can do whatever they want to do if you have the right support, the right tools, and the right vision. And that's, you know, where we are today. That's a bit of my story.
What a journey. And I think a really important journey, message out of that journey, particularly for males, we tend to not grow up for a long time.
A long time.
And
long time.
I'm definitely one of those. But
Peter Pan,
just not growing up. But we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and then try to numb that, as you say, through whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be. And also not talking to each other about that same pressure that we're going through. So I think it's such a great message, the way you share your story and the way you share your journey. Once you started to share it, and with the Man That Can project, there was, and I've obviously being mates, I've followed that journey. The amount of people that connected to that message was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible. And one of the most eye-opening things is men watch, but they don't communicate. So from a social media point of view, for example, I get lots of DMs from men, but you'll never see them commenting going, oh, yes, queen, and all. Like, women are really good at doing that. And so that gives you the validation that it's working. But men watching quiet until the point where there's enough pain to make change. And for me, the real conversations I was having were with me initially. It's like, why am I behaving like that? Why do I get jealous about that? Why have I hurt people in those ways? And it's very confronting, because you don't want to believe those things about yourself. You don't want to have to acknowledge that that's what you've done or who you've been. Because we tend to, or at the time back then, I was like, oh, if I've done that, therefore that defines me as an individual. I can never change. I still remember a lady who was actually at Willows commented on one of my posts one day and was like, you're just full of shit. Like, you're not going to change. And I still remember thinking, like, well, if I'm never going to change, how can I improve my life? Or how can anyone improve their life? That belief that she's projecting is completely false.
Yeah.
We've all done things in our life that teach us or give us feedback to improve upon. And some things are worse than others, I get that. But for me, it was just like, I was a young kid. I was an idiot. Most of us, young, as you said, us young boys don't grow up, and some people don't have strong role models, you know, guiding us where we wanted to get to. But when I started sharing that, I started realizing that I wasn't alone. Like, men from all around the world, like, we have now clients and members in the UK, in America, in Canada, in Ireland, in New Zealand, all around the world, who connect with the same stories, because it's a universal problem.
And what I find interesting is that universal problem can be someone that's starting their journey, so a young person starting out, or someone who's been on the journey and failed and are now older and think they can't change, and they connect with you. But then also really successful men that appear successful from the outside, but are also really struggling with their identity.
Correct.
I'm always surprised by the different demographics that I see connect with you. Is that something that surprised you as well?
Blew my mind. When we first started running men's circles, they were back in the day in 2016. This was before men's work was like it's not popular, but it's more accepted now.
Yeah,
but when people
were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, when people saw men getting together to talk about their feelings and problems, I got torn apart on the internet.
Yeah.
But when the first couple was like 8 people, 15 people, then we had 30, and that was max capacity. But we had doctors, lawyers, 18-year-old chippies, kids who'd just finished school. And I was looking around the room and I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like I have once again, great dad. I had you as a mentor. I probably didn't utilize your advice as much as I should have, but I was at this point where I'm sort of 23, 24, and I'm like, I need to have it figured out. There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And then I've got doctors and these people that I put on a pedestal coming to be in an environment of something that I've created, because they still have challenges. They still have insecurities. They still have dreams and ambitions, but life through different seasons puts a lid on those things. And and you were talking about these seasons, like whether you're aware of the problems you have, you may be successful, but every problem we solve every solution we find to a problem creates a new problem. So you and I are both sitting here and we're dealing with stuff that no one knows anything about, and I'll share some more stuff shortly.
Yeah.
But everyone sort of hopes that when I solve this one problem, my life's going to be awesome. I thought when I made $1 million, my life would be awesome.
Yeah.
That was my first initial goal. Never made the million, but I realized along the way that it wasn't the million that I wanted. I wanted the problems gone that could solve. And I realized you could solve them in other ways.
And that's what I love about your message. You're not saying you have the answers.
No.
You're saying by sharing journeys and connecting with like-minded people, that you can support people along the way. And I think that's a big thing for men, and something that I've struggled with a long time. You feel like you have to have all the answers. And if you don't have all the answers, you feel like a failure.
Correct.
And then
it's a horrible place, right?
It is a horrible place. And I think for men, that's been a place where we've sat and not felt comfortable talking about. But I think with projects like yours, that's slowly changing. Still a long way to go.
Yeah.
And I know and we'll talk more as we go. I know you've got a lot more plans on how to do that. That message has really exploded for you by something that I can't believe you did, but you decided you were going to run 58 marathons in 58 days across 2 countries.
Yeah.
In the middle of winter in America.
It's much colder than the Toowoomba morning here, though. That's for sure.
Mate, where did that concept come from?
It started with a question, and everything that I've done has come from a question, which is, what am I really capable of?
Yeah.
A lot of what drives me is, in the early days, it was to prove a point to people, but now it's to prove a point to myself. And I was fortunate, I was saying to you this off air before, because of the work that I've done, I've been very fortunate to meet certain people, and I got to sit down with the Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence, who's been someone that I really have looked up to since 2016. And for those who aren't familiar with him, he did 50 Ironmen in 50 states across 50 days and took his young family with him and changed his life. Most recently, he did 101 Ironmen in 101 days. And a lot of it's like record breaking, because you just can't fathom how to do that. I got off a call with him just feeling so inspired, but I realized I'd been playing small. I'd found myself, I'd done 12-hour challenges, and every year we'd done a challenge for the Man That Can project, but aligned ourselves with a charity to raise funds, also get community together, because I mentioned when I went to that personal development event, dancing's not my thing. It's some people's thing, and that's fine. But I asked myself, what's the purpose of dancing when you go into an event? It's to change your emotional state. Motion creates emotion. I thought a way that I like doing that is through fitness. It's the exact same thing. It's just, and more men tend to gravitate to that than dancing. That's just a generalization. But for how I do things, that's how it works. So we started putting these events on, and they just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I was doing more individual ones, like 12-hour challenges, 24-hour challenges. I rode 30 marathons in 30 days in 2022, but then I became comfortable. Yeah. And being comfortable is great. Like, I have a great life, I have a great wife, I have everything that I could have ever wanted. But then there's this curiosity coming, and if you're not growing, you're dying, is that great saying, and it's true, because I started getting in my head again. My mental health started declining. I wasn't happy. I started getting more snappy. And my wife knew it straight away. She's just like, dude, you need to grow again. Like, my business was comfortable. Life was awesome. And so off the back of that, I've turned around to Amy and I've said, I need to do something that's like a whole different level. And I think I've earned the right now to ask for sponsors and to do the things and do it to a level that I'd love to do it, not just for the local community, for the global community. And she shut that down really quickly. Even though she'd been advocating, she's like, no chance. But then 2 weeks later, because I was obsessing over it, I'm like, okay, 50 Ironman, that's cool, but let's bring Australia into it, because I was living in Nashville at the time, but I want to bring Australia into it. How can I do that? And then I was like, 8 marathons there. Can I bring New Zealand? Anyway, it was a formula. I said to Amy one morning at breakfast, I was like, I have to do this. I can't stop thinking about it. And she turned to me and she just said, I know you do. And it would be hypocritical of me to expect you to move halfway around the world to support my dreams if I'm not supporting you.
Wow.
And in that moment, not only did I have her support, I had her belief, and that just lit the fire. And I called 2 friends. I called Liam, my brother-in-law, who actually lived next door, so I actually didn't call him, I ran next door. And then Matt Lancashire, who's been a great role model for me and mentor. And both of them were like, I want to help. And Matty is also like, I'm going to sponsor you. The moment that he said, I'm going to sponsor you, it went from this dream into, this is happening now. And I started freaking out a little bit, because I've only ever run 4 marathons in my life. I'm thinking about doing 58. How are we going to finance it? What's the fundraising goal? What's the message we want to do? And like, how's this going to impact my life and my wife's life and our mission moving forward? Because I'm taking 3 months away from my family. And so there was a lot of overwhelm in that moment, but I had now had someone who's like, we're on.
Yeah.
So I put it on a whiteboard and I worked back. These are the key things. This is why we're doing it. We want to raise X amount of dollars for mental health, and we chose our charity. What's the story that we can use this to tell? The reason why we went in winter was to be able to show the contrast between all seasons and all terrains. And that's life. Like, sometimes you're in summer, which is everything's going well. Everything you touch turns to gold. You feel loved. You feel confident. And then winter's around the corner and you maybe feel isolated, you feel alone, and you feel like you can't, maybe you don't have the desire to go on, nothing's working. And that's life, for everyone. Seasons are coming. And so I thought that's an awesome story we can share, and hopefully we can document it well enough to show people that it doesn't always work well. And I found out on day 1 it doesn't always work well.
We're gonna dig into that. I'm just gonna take a step back for a second, because someone out there listening goes, 58 marathons, 58 days. Like that's a big ass goal. But I know for you, the message wasn't around having to do that. It's the person that's maybe lying in bed right now listening to this, like their big ass goal tomorrow, maybe getting out of bed and going for a walk, or being able to meditate and doing, that's the strong message from it, isn't it? It's not about the actual, you didn't just wake up and do 58. You had your journey along the whole way. And it's about facing those, I guess, to a point, those demons and those challenges every day. Is that was
it's stepping into the doubt. In order to live an incredible life, and incredible, you define it. I'm showing what my definition and how I like to live is. But when I decided a decade ago what I wanted my life to look like, I was a chippy at the time and I was doing PT. And I didn't like who I was, but I then met my now wife, and there was like a fresh start to who do I want to be and how do I want to provide and what does my life look like? And I've still got videos of the very first video of me in a yellow shirt saying what I wanted to do, and I got bullied for it. Yeah. But a lot of that has now come true. But that was scary back then. Taking a video was scary, right? At the time, it was like, before COVID, I hadn't run more than 10K for a long number of years. I hadn't done peak to park or anything like that. So 5K was hard, but the more I did it, my horizons, expanded, and I was like, 5 turned into 6, which turned into 21.
Just a couple of things there that really stick with me. Stepping into the doubt, it's a scary thing, but that's where our growth comes from. And I see you doing that all the time. And the other one is, when you do grow, not everyone around you is
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, be on board with that, are they?
That is extremely, I was literally just talking to someone about this morning, because as they're starting to change, there's sacrifices with every decision. Yeah. And so when I was trying to get off the booze, I wasn't strong enough to say no to my friends, because I love my friends and I love partying and whatnot, but I also wanted more. Yeah. And in order for me to, I guess, set boundaries and have something that I could use as an excuse, because I don't think an excuse is always a bad thing. I wasn't strong enough and confident enough to say no. But when I started committing to 16-week fitness challenges, it was so much easier when the boys said, hey, let's go party or let's do this. I was like, I'd love to, but I'm training for this goal and I'm 8 weeks out from completion, so I want to win it. And that made it easier until I became confident enough to go, hey, boys, I just don't feel like drinking now.
I'm loving that. The steps you're taking, the stepping into the doubt. There's so many So many great messages there. And as I said, we're going to need a lot more chats. But let's dive into this 58 marathon. So you said from day one there was a setback. Let's have, you're starting your journey. Let's have a chat about that.
So day one, we're in Alaska. And most people can imagine what Alaska's like. Icy, snowy, freezing. And we went there a couple of days early for trail runs just to get used to it all and obviously have some fun with it. And everyone on the internet's like, you need snowshoes or like spike clamps just so you don't slip over and injure yourself. And for 2 days, I was like, no, that's fine. Third day, I was like, I should probably listen to them because I've never run in the snow and I don't have much experience and I don't want to get injured and jeopardize the 58 days. So I got shoes, didn't try them on, just knew my size. Next morning, 7 a.m., tie them on, and we start running. Instantly, I just feel the top of my toe hitting the shoe and I'm like, okay, I should probably slow down and figure out what's going on. But part of me was also trying to do a sub 4 hour marathon and prove to people that we're serious. So there was like an ego part and then there was like the logical part because a lot of people doubted this and I wanted to prove everyone wrong and prove to myself. So the next 37 kilometers, it's just bang, 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 bang. We finished.
I can feel that pain
just kicking and I'm an idiot. And when I finished, I took my shoe off. My toe had already started going black. And in that moment, I realized I'd physically injured myself, but mentally I was embarrassed because I'd told people we'd set the goal of $100,000. I was going to be the first person in history to do this, the third person in history to ever do the 50 states in a row, first in, like I had a lot riding on this from a reputation standpoint, sponsors and fundraising, a lot of pressure. And then the embarrassment of you'd made a very silly mistake that wouldn't have happened had you just got your ego out of the way.
So day one, you've got the black toe. I remember watching you at the time and I was feeling for you. And I think I messaged you and I went, are you okay? Like day one, that toe and you're putting the needle through the toe.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the embarrassment at that point. Did you cop much grief online?
I did, which was wonderful because when you're already tired and fatigued and you're beating yourself up, the added scrutiny of the internet and as being a pretender and not being capable of what you set out to do. And I think that's one of the fears that most people face when you go to do something to that enormity. And once again, as we've said, it doesn't need to be 58 marathons. Everyone's big thing is the big thing and that's what's the most real. So for me, doing that and putting it online because I did want to showcase it. Scared the crap out of me and I had doctors, I had, you name it, I had all kinds of health professionals saying you need to quit, like you should stop, it's not worth it. Because what then proceeded to happen over the next 5 days got worse and the noise got louder and louder and louder. And the worst thing I did, Troy, was I didn't have health insurance over there because America, it costs a bomb, which you probably should invest in if you're going to do something like this. Yeah. So then and no one knew this until we finished. On day 50, I'll tell you this in 30 seconds, day 50 was the biggest sigh of relief because I could turn to the team and say, boys, we're back in Australia tomorrow.
I've got insurance.
It doesn't matter what happens in Australia because we're covered. But I've been shitting myself for 50 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is out there. So what I loved was you've got a lot of physical things going on, the ankle, the toe, knees at times. The mental fight, I can only imagine what was going on in your mind when you're running. The ability to do things on the fly, like
all the planning we put in from what foods we were going to eat, working with dietitians to where we were going to stop, where we were going to sleep went out the window. One, because winter, we were in a motorhome, all the parks were shut and we'd had a motorhome with a kitchen and everything for that reason. And so then we had to find like Motel 8, which are these places which we couldn't afford and they were still dingy. And there's 4 grown men sharing 2 beds, which was quite lovely. But that then made me realize pretty quickly that the routine that I wanted wasn't going to happen. We had to just work with the weather because of the snow. We had to try to navigate snowstorms, but also my body. Because originally I'd planned to run 4.5 hours max, which gave us enough time to drive to the next state. As soon as I blew out to doing 10 hours, our drive time meant we're driving till 1 a.m. and we're getting stuck in the poor weather. And we're now not getting enough sleep. So everyone's on edge.
Yeah.
And that was once again off the back of my own mistake. But like logistically, it was just like, okay, well, the best thing that ever happened to me, Troy, on this journey was getting injured. The reason why was I had to look at the whole thing, the whole experience in the light that I wanted to look at it in. I said at the beginning, I rode 30 marathons in 30 days to prove a point. I chose to do this one to enjoy the experience, but to have memories and tell a story. But as soon as I got to the day one, the competitive side of me took over. And had that been allowed to run, I wouldn't have had the conversations with the people that I met. I wouldn't have stopped and looked where we were at. And I would have been not a fun person for my friends to be around. So that injury made me look up and go, doing something no one's ever done, where visiting places people will never visit, just enjoy the process. I was eating McDonald's most of the time because half the places we were in, that's all they had. And so went to survival mode.
I really want to dig into that, because often in life we have this, we go, right, I'm changing everything. I'm waking up tomorrow, everything's changing. This is the plan. These are the set stages I've got. It very rarely happens in life like that, does it? Yeah. So when it doesn't, we tend to just stop and go, well, I'm no good at this. But watching your journey, it's not about that, is it? It's the process, which is, it's not the outcome all the time.
Correct.
What we learn most is in the process. What surprised you most about yourself in that process?
Was my ability to adapt.
Yeah.
You would know me as well as more than most people that I'm very rigid and routine in my life. I live by my calendar and I know what I'm working towards, and these are the things that I do.
Yeah.
What I realized on the run was I had the one goal, which was completing the 58 marathons. And when I realized that there was so many variables, I had to let go of control and just figure out a way in that moment, because at any given point, you're given two decisions, right? There's anyone who says there's more or less is just make it two. It's simple. Yeah. It's either you quit and throw the towel in, or you do one thing that's going to move you closer to, for me at that point, the 58 marathons. Yeah. So all it then became about was if I was in pain, okay, what do I need to do to minimize the pain to then move to the next step, which was to get running. And so sometimes it was ibuprofen, sometimes it was the boys giving me a massage, sometimes it was a little bit more sleep. We just did the one thing that I thought was right. It wasn't always right, but I thought it was. And then once we did that, we then moved on to the next step, which once again, we had one of two decisions: quit, throw the towel in, or do the next little micro step. And it was just a slow process until we got to the point where the guys knew what was working best for me and they took over control.
I absolutely love that. And for those people listening out there that are struggling with their own health and well-being journey, it's that one step at a time. The message that's out there from the health fitness influencers is it's all or nothing.
Correct.
Which is why we're the most unhealthy we've ever been in any other time in history, because we're not listening to the one thing at a time. And for those that are struggling with it, they really need to listen to what you've just said and replay it again and replay it again. Because it's what can I wake up to today and just get me that little bit closer where I want to be. I don't have to have everything, because I'm going to wake up, for those with families, there's going to be kids issues. Sometimes you just don't wake up feeling great.
Correct. That's okay.
It is okay. It's okay not to be okay. But for you to put yourself out there and share that, it really inspired me and motivated me as well to show how raw you were on days that just went, you know what? I'm just hating every minute of this at the moment.
There was a lot of those days, unfortunately.
Documenting the whole thing, that's a lead into that. That's brave. Like, you really were out there and raw. And I know you've got a documentary coming out. How was that process of being that raw and showing everybody everything?
It was a lot harder than I was expecting it to. I knew what I was getting myself into, obviously sharing the highs and lows and having a camera. But when you are hurting and when you're having to admit maybe you aren't as good as yourself, or you're having a breakdown, or you're injured, and then there's a camera there capturing every moment, and you just want the camera to piss off, you don't get an opportunity to process it very well. But for me, it also made me have the mirror in my face instantly, as like, how do I actually want to show up? I talk about this a lot, and I have an idea of, I read a lot of books, as I'm sure you do. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I think I'm learning things. And there's a difference between consuming information and feeling like you're changing, and then being put in the firing line and going into battle, where it's like, who are you really? How well did you listen and implement the things that you're reading and you think you are? Because I had a professional development and personal development ego fat. ages where I thought I was so much better than people because I was reading more and I was learning more and I had different ideas. But when I would get in the pressure cooker, I'd crumble and I'd go back to drinking beers and doing all those things. This was the perfect opportunity where I'm like, this is how I want to conduct myself. This is me honestly injured, or this is what I'm feeling because I know everyone else feels it. I know everyone else feels it, and it doesn't matter who it is. But now I'm going to share with you the real thoughts of like my self-doubt, because as you said, there's people on all different stages of these journeys, and even people I admire you, and I get to learn ins and outs of going on in your life, and I'm like, I never would have known that. But then I'm like, okay, well, if Troy's experienced this, it's okay for me to feel this. I just now need to accept that that's real. Now, what am I going to do about that? What is the next step? And you said before, and it was awesome what you were saying with the steps. It's like those next steps for us. If you don't know what the next step is, that's okay. Your next step is to figure out what that is. And you can jump on Google, you can jump on ChatGPT, you could hire a coach, you could go into a gym and get a PT. Like, you do those things to fill those holes until you know what that is. And that's all life is. Don't get overwhelmed by the fact that you don't have the answers or you're not where you want to be. That's just part of the process of, okay, are you going to allow that to consume you and define you and stay stuck? Or can you, yeah, that sucks and it's uncomfortable and you're embarrassed or you're sad, to then go, okay, I don't like this. What's the opposite? Let's find that answer.
It's so interesting. So, yeah, we need about 1,000 podcasts to go through everything. But going through those steps, where stepping into the doubt is a really powerful message for me. And then even though you had a plan, being able to adapt that plan, because it's not always going to be perfect. And then one step at the time. And that reminds me of, I love that story with the boy, the horse and the wolf, I think it is, where it's that stepping into that forest and I can't see where I'm going. Can you see your next step? And let's take that. So I love that message. And then that final step is being raw enough to go, I'm not okay. I'm achieving this, but I'm still got these struggles, and it's okay to talk about it. And so okay to actually share with people that you're not okay sometimes, and this is tough. So I love those steps that you're portraying there. What this experience, how has it shaped you for what's next in your life?
It's made me more confident. It's one of those things where I had so much adversity, and then I had, I guess, I had people from all walks of life that I put on pedestals telling me I couldn't do it. And then that leaves you with yourself. And I had two choices, as I was going to share. And there was also a battle that no one knew was going on. And for me to be able to choose the choice that was leading me to where I wanted to go. And even though it was painful in the moment, it led to a better outcome. And when you look back, and I achieve stuff that so many people didn't think was possible, I didn't think was possible, and the amount of pain, you're like, oh, stress fractures compartment syndrome, is my shin going to snap in a minute? Like every day. And to get through that and come out the other side with no long-term injuries. I lost a toenail and had a few ankle issues, but I'm fine. Now has just made me come back, even from business and for what I'm doing. I'm so hungry to chase more, because I started it when I was in a comfortable position, and I'm like, I've done pretty well. But now I don't even know where I can go with what I now believe I'm capable of, because adversity for anyone, there's that threshold, and when you overcome that, you feel unstoppable. And that's what I don't ever want to come across arrogant or anything like that, but it's just for the goals that I have, the objectives that I have, I feel like I can go all in on it, because it doesn't matter what challenge is coming. I have a great team around me. I have great mentors that I can lean into. I have all the things that I need, or I'm able to find them and get them to achieve those outcomes. So for me, I feel unstoppable, and I've now got this story where I'm very hungry to get it in the ears, especially of a lot of young men, to help them continue shaping the future. Because a decade ago, or older than I think I am, but 15 years ago or 17 years ago now, that's what I needed.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to relate with my story, and that's completely okay. But I want to be a voice for those who do resonate with it and relate to my journey, and give them not only the insights of, like, you don't just see Lachie here. Go on my YouTube channel, and there's documentary, there's daily footage of when I sucked and when I was struggling. And it's all there. I've gone through everything most people are experiencing. Yeah. I've just chosen to find the ways to make progress in my life because I didn't like the alternative.
That's, once again, I love that. So it is okay to suck as long as we're learning off it.
I still suck at so much
I
stuff.
suck at
Yeah.
It's the biggest lessons you learn.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely more failures in my life than successes, but that's where you break those ceilings, isn't it? That
Correct.
if you take those lessons and go, well, this is what I can now do. I think particularly today, particularly for men, we just put way too many ceilings on ourselves, and there's so much more that's possible. That's why I love the message from these marathons and the journeys. You've spoken a lot about the mental barriers that you have during that process. For those listening out there that are struggling every day with those mental barriers, we've spoken about going step by step. What other little cues, habits, routines can we give the audience that helps you through those types of barriers?
Exercise for one, that is game changing. I used to do it just for how I looked, but now it's more for how I feel. And you feel confident when you feel, for me, I feel confident when I feel strong, and you get to meet great people. The other thing is just having an idea or casting an idea of what you want your life to look like.
Yeah.
The reason why that's so valuable is there's a lot of opportunity. There's also a lot of distractions. But when I knew where I was moving, it then made me work back to go, okay, for me to achieve these things, I need to be this kind of person. Therefore, I need to have these routines. So for me, I talk, much like you, I travel a lot. I talk to a lot of people, and I can take on their stresses and frustrations and pressures, and I have my own. And so meditation, or I do a lot of writing. Writing for me is my favorite thing. But that's where I'm asking myself questions. I'm brain dumping stresses, but it helps me get my thoughts in order so that if I have to have a tough conversation with Amy or a client or anyone, I know what I want to say and how I want to say it. And for me, I guess when I was at my worst, it was just because there was a lot of noise and I didn't understand things. So the routine for me is I just try and get up consistently at the same time, like just keep those rhythms. And if I don't have children, so once again, that mightn't work for everyone, but that works for me currently.
Yeah.
Then the writing, I've tried millions of other things, and the question I would pose to anyone who's doing meditation or cold bath saunas, awesome, done them all and do dabble in them. But for me, what am I getting out of this at this point in my life? What's the season I'm in and what value is it giving to me? At this point, I'm in a season of growth and trying to start a family, which means I need a clear mind and I need to have clear thoughts. So that's why writing currently is important, and training, because that allows me to be confident and get around people that I want to be around.
Once again, there's so many takeaways from this. So it's finding what's right for you in your life is what I'm hearing you say.
Correct.
So, and I've seen you do your colds and your saunas, and that's great for different times. But at the moment where you're at in your life, it's the meditation and the journaling, because that's what fits best. So I guess for people listening out there, it's not taking someone else's journey and trying to fit it on top of yours. It's what works best for you. The best plan, and we've known each other for a long time. One of my favorite sayings is the best plan is the plan you will do.
Correct.
So finding that and learning off people, but finding what's great for you. You touched on your journey with starting a family, and I think this is once again, as I said, we need a lot of podcasts together, but you and Amy are on the IVF journey, the challenges with that.
Yeah. So I guess the personal challenges and the ones that I'm super grateful my wife shared it. She chose to talk about it because it's just given her a platform to talk to more people and not carry that burden, because once again, I don't understand what it's like for her. I'm sure she's beating herself up. But for us, we've been trying for kids for 2-3 years living abroad, and we travel a lot and live stressful lives, but we enjoy it. And we decided in October that we were going to do IVF. And obviously I'd already committed to the run 14 months prior to that. So it was a commitment that I'd had. And part of the worry that I had was like, okay, I've got these commitments to sponsors. Amy and I are both in this together for what it's going to do for our career and the impact that I want to have with men and also the personal adventure. But then I'm carrying the weight of, as a husband, I should be there for those moments. Like I need to be there to support her with this, because I don't know what it's going to be like and what if it doesn't work. And we were carrying that weight, and then the media is telling me, because unfortunately we're in the media with a lot of it. So you get people who have no idea who you are telling you what you should do and what a real husband does. And they don't ask any more questions.
That's added pressure.
Oh, it's crazy. And then you obviously want to conduct yourself in a good manner. Half the time you want to tell people to bugger off, but we then decide, okay, we're going to do the first transfer on the 21st of February. And so I'm somewhere in the middle of America running. Amy's still in Australia, but she's coming over to America 2 weeks later. But the 21st of February was significant because it was my birthday. And I said to Amy, I was like, there's something about this, like it's too good to be true. And I started building up in my mind that it's happening for a reason. Like, we're going to get lucky here.
Yeah.
All the negative tests, watching Amy's heart break every time you get a negative test is a tough weight to carry, because I want to fix problems.
Yeah.
I can't do a single thing about this. And so I'm like, 21st of February, this is unreal. This is going to happen. Anyway, I can't be there, so I'm FaceTiming him. It goes well. And then the doctor's like, okay, you get to do your test on the 7th of March, which is roughly 2 weeks later. And I'm like, this is wild, because we're crossing paths through Albuquerque. Like, I'm coming back to Cali. She's going from Cali to, I can't remember where she was going, Salt Lake City. And I'm like, the fact that it was on my birthday, we're together for the test to find out if it's real, it's happening. And so we're both pumped up about this the whole time. It's another 2 weeks past. Obviously, we get to America, and I had an atrocious run on that day. I was in San Antonio, and my heart rate was 170 the whole time. It was snowing. Found out I was running at altitude higher than Kosciuszko, so I did a marathon that. But I was in a mood, and the guys didn't talk to me. I was filthy. But then I started thinking, like, what if it doesn't work? Tomorrow she's got to go back on the road to where she's going, then she's going to be overseas by herself for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I'm going where I'm going. And the weight of that, you're just like, I'm missing out on this, and I'm not supporting my wife, who I'm technically doing this all for. I'm doing this all for our future, but it's also just a stupid run. This is what I'm saying to myself.
Yeah.
And anyway, the next morning, 7 a.m., do the test, and you don't want to look. And then we both look, and it's negative. And she did 2 tests, just to be sure. And both of them are negative. And we literally had, from that, 30 minutes together to
wow,
cry and carry on. And then it's like, see ya. I'll see you again. And the internet roasted me. Because once again, people tell you, and I've been guilty of it, but now I understand a little bit differently, is that for me as a man, like, my role, I want to be the provider. That's what I choose to do. I want Amy to feel safe and secure, and I've chosen to do and work hard to be able to do that. But there's also, when you're doing that, you're also building a reputation, you're making commitments that you have to honor, because if you don't, everything you've worked for is gone. So I'm juggling, like, letting everyone down, letting the internet down, not raising the funds, also the weight of not being a good husband. I'm beating myself up every which way. And then I still have to just carry on. And then everyone with their opinion tries to tell you what's going on. I'm so fortunate, like Amy, and we speak so openly about these things, she's just like, this is what we agreed to do. This is just one of those sacrifices. It sucks. She was, handled it better than I did. And it's nice to have that reassurance, but it still sucks. But that's, to me, unfortunately, our life and what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve. There's always going to be a sacrifice. Bless you, you're right. So yeah, the weight of the media and everyone's opinion, but Amy, even though she reassured me that's, we're building to something bigger, it's still a weight that you have to carry, and it's something that I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. But I think in life you're always going to have regrets, and it's just about which one you feel you can carry further. And for me, I
think it's really brave the way you and Amy are speaking about that, and how open you are, and following that journey. And really look forward to continue to follow that journey with both you. I know it's very public and tough for both you, but I'm sure it's all going to work out. I'm sure it's made you both stronger.
Yeah,
as well.
Definitely, it's improved our relationship. Yeah,
mate, this has been an amazing chat. I could talk to you all day, but we're going to wrap up because we're definitely going to have another chat together. I'm going to hit you with some rapid fire questions to finish, because this has been such a good chat.
Yep.
Best song that kept you going throughout the 58 days?
One Too Many Luke Combs was an absolute banger. It was great.
It got you through.
Yeah, it got me through.
Most underrated part of your recovery process?
Sleep.
Massive.
Sleep, for sure. Actually, and eating 30 minutes after.
Yeah.
The days that I didn't eat within the 30 minutes after, my recovery, my aches and pains were amplified.
Isn't that interesting? And research shows
Yeah.
that. So really good.
And I was even eating McDonald's, so it didn't matter the food. It was just
As long as
getting
you get food in
it's
there.
getting food in.
Your everyday morning routine, what is the number one essential you don't go without?
Writing.
Yep. We touched on that
Yep.
with your journaling. One word to describe how you feel now post 58 marathons.
Unstoppable.
Love it, mate. It has been an absolute pleasure having a chat to you. I've loved watching your journey. Really proud to call you a good mate. And we will put all the links to where people can connect with you. By the time the podcast is out, the documentary might be up. But even if it's not,
Fingers crossed.
Even if it's not, we will put some shorts out with the documentary link once it is up, mate. Thanks for spending some time
Thanks so
with me
much,
today.
and thanks for
Look
being
forward
such
to
a good
talking.
role model for me. It's
Thanks,
been awesome.
Loved having you. Thanks, everyone. That was an absolute cracker. I can't wait to see the end product on this one. See you next time.